Going to prison saved my life. It's a common refrain I hear every semester from the women who sign up for a writing class that I volunteer teach at the Geo Lockhart unit, which houses 500 female and 500 male inmates. Now, it may seem odd for someone who's living among 1,000 convicted criminals to feel rescued, but that's the reality for many of the women who end up there. On the one hand, they're reduced to a last name and a number. They have absolutely no privacy at any time, and they're subject to strip searches and counted like cattle multiple times a day. On the other hand, they're now separated from the chaos that was their life on the outside. If their addictions to drugs and alcohol weren't going to kill them, the fists and the feet of the abusive men in their lives most certainly would have. The class I facilitate is called Talk to Me Circle, and it's made possible by an Austin nonprofit called Truth Be Told. In this class, the women are challenged to write and then share the story of what led them to prison. The story that they write is not necessarily just about the crime. In fact, we go way deeper than that. Starting with their earliest memories, they're challenged to identify the experiences they have had, as well as the decisions and choices that they have made that they believe slowly but surely led them to where they are today, which is behind bars. It's an ambitious undertaking for any person, prisoner or not, to look this deep at one's past to better understand the present. But every semester, I take a new group of women through this process, and I get to witness what I can only describe as a powerful awakening among the women who accept the challenge to write their story. Brene Brown, she studies shame at the University of Houston. She says, owning our story can be hard, but not nearly as difficult as spending our lives running from it. Only when we are brave enough to explore the darkness will we discover the infinite power of our light. Most of the women in my classroom have spent their lives running from their past. So this is not a simple exercise in creative writing. This is about women owning their story for the first time. It's about radical self-acceptance and self-forgiveness. But most of all, it's about healing. Studies show that nearly 6 in 10 women in U.S. prisons have been the victims of sexual or physical abuse. And 70% of them say that that abuse occurred before they were even 18 years old. And this rings true for the women I meet in my classroom. Most of them were victims first before they started victimizing others. So why is it so important to heal? Very simply put, healed people heal others, and hurt people hurt others. This work that we're doing behind bars as volunteers for Truth Be Told is about working toward a safer community for all of us. We offer a variety of programs in prison and beyond bars, and in everything that we do, we offer the 4 C's, or we weave it in. The communication skills, community building, caring for self, and creativity. Now, obviously, learning to speak authentically about your life and your past is a communication skill, but we also stress the importance of respectful listening and how to be supportive without offering advice or trying to fix it. In other words, we practice how to hold space for an open, honest conversation. To graduate from Talk to Me Circle, the women are required to read the story they wrote out loud in class, which is a huge ask, especially in a prison environment where you're recommended to keep a low profile while you do your time. So in order to build community, the women together write a confidentiality agreement. They get to decide what they need to feel safe in this new community that they're building together. In sharing their stories, the women realize they have common threads, that they are not alone. It's a collective purging of shame, guilt, remorse, fears, secrets, all of these feelings that have been fueling their addictions and their self-destructive behavior. Of course, a lot of what comes up in my class are memories they've been trying hard to forget. So in that respect, we offer tools of caring for self. We meditate, we dump right in class to get rid of distracting thoughts, negative thoughts, and we encourage them to journal in their free time to further process what comes up for them when they're in the classroom. We also offer tools of creativity, such as painting and drawing and authentic movement. We believe that the creative arts are a healthy way to explore the darker corners of ourselves, and through creative expression, they can find their voices and strengthen their sense of self. Also, in our Level 2 Discovery class, we get to publish together a book of wisdom. It's basically a collection of their original writing and artwork, and it's a way to permanently document this journey of self-discovery that they're on. Each woman in the class gets 2 copies of the book, one she can keep for herself and one she can give to somebody else. We offer these tools to women in prison with the hope that they will go back into their communities and continue to use them. Our vision with Truth Be Told is to help incarcerated women heal at a meaningful level so they can move on and they can build better lives for themselves and oftentimes for their families too. Going to prison saved my life. I hear it every semester. It's a common refrain, and I've come to understand what they mean. Because in a certain respect, going to prison, it saved my life too. In helping others to tell their stories, I'm learning the words to my own story. I'm discovering the power and the freedom in having a safe community. And I'm learning my role in helping to build that for others. And I'm helping to build that one story at a time. Thank you.
Thank you. Tell me when you're ready.
All right. All right, let's roll.
Okay, here we go.
Hello, everybody. My name's Tamir Kalifa. I am the resident accordion player, guitar player, bouzouki player, piano player, and occasionally I play saxophone. I'm also the resident documentarian in this big old band called Mother Falcon. Thank you. So, as you can see, Mother Falcon's a pretty big band. We've got 12 to 20 musicians, and you can categorize us as Baroque pop, indie rock, symphonic pop. I don't know, usually when people ask us how we feel about it, we just squirm and list our instrumentation. So we've got cellos, we've got violins, we've got a slew of classical instruments and instruments that you don't normally find on a stage. So Mother Falcon started in 2008 in a high school orchestra room when Nick Gregg, one of the founding members of the band, and a few cellists and a bassoon player decided that they wanted to do something more than just play music that's on a page. They wanted to take it to the next level, and they wanted to do something that's emotionally fulfilling and creative. So they started jamming, and they started writing their own songs, and one thing led to another, and now it's snowballed, and we have 19 people playing this week at South by. I actually joined the band in 2009. I used to go busking on the UT campus, and I would set up right outside the University Federal Credit Union. And that guy in the penguin suit, Nick Gregg, came up to me and said, "I like what you're doing. Do you want to come to rehearsal?" And so I was looking for a way to get into a band, and I've been in it ever since. And I think that kind of mindset sort of speaks to the ethos of Mother Falcon, and that is that it's a search for like-minded people who want to express themselves originally, and to find people who share similar musical ideas. So we've all grown up playing classical instruments or non-traditional instruments, non-rock band instruments, but we've idolized bands in the rock clubs, the passion, the energy, the vulnerability that badass musicians give out when they're on stage. And we wanted to figure out a way to incorporate our classical instrumentation in a way that we could do that, essentially. So how does it work? It's pretty crazy. I still am trying to wrap my mind around it. But essentially, Mother Falcon is, well, we think it's a collective. It's a group of individual voices coming together for one idea, and that idea is music. It's a song, it's an album, and it's a performance. And I kind of liken it to 12 Angry Men. You have a jury of 12 individuals that they're coming out with one decision, and we like to call it democratic, but really there's a single person can influence the entire conversation, the entire song, and so everybody feels like they have a creative stake in the project. And so that extends not to just the way that the band is operating, but musically. So any part that you hear that a person is playing, they wrote that part. And the way that a song comes to fruition is it begins with, one person having the idea of a chord progression or a melody, and then it just keeps building and building until it turns into a song. And we try to avoid the clashing of egos by just not having any sort of front person, just letting it be one collective entity. And that's why we all wear black when we play, is because we take that from the orchestra days, is when you all wear a single uniform, and you focus on the music and not about the individuals. So everyone in the band comes from different perspectives and experiences, and everything that we do and have done in the past informs what we do now. So I also just want to mention briefly that we're also hustlers and work really, really hard on tour, and we've been touring since June. But this is a photo of us after a 6-hour drive from Burlington, Vermont, sleeping in the common room of Fordham University before doing a radio spot. And after that, we ended up going to Rhode Island and playing a show and then recording a song. So it ain't easy. And speaking of which, this is my other life. I'm a photographer, and I photographed this cover and wrote a story, or collaborated on a story with a guy named Maurice Chama, who plays violin. Everybody in this band does something else to supplement music because we care so much about what we're doing, but we're not making a dime. So we're doing it because we love it, and everybody has to do something else. We got architects, teachers, designers. It runs the gamut. And we've been incredibly lucky to find these people in Austin, and I think this band is a testament to how extraordinary Austin is. And creative people have creative babies, and just look where we are. This is Austin, Texas. So every one of these people is so inspiring and so passionate about what we do, and I think it kind of speaks to the larger musical community that we're a part of. I mean, we're not unique in any way. There's so many other amazing bands that are around in Austin, and we're incredibly lucky to be a part of that. And we've tried to build a musical community and reach out and work together with musicians and collaborate. We're lucky enough to have been able to play with 100 Strings as part of the Fusebox Festival in 2011. That was one of the highlights of my life, and as many of the band members' lives. But I can't imagine that being possible anywhere other than Austin. Part of building a musical community is also giving back and reaching out to the community, and something that we started doing 2 years ago was running a summer camp for young musicians. Middle school, high school, any skill level, it doesn't matter. We just want to these are our bands, by the way. They're incredible. Some of the most creative and inspiring young people, but the whole purpose, the whole reason why we do it is because we want to give kids another perspective on what it means to play music and to be creative from a very early age. So we bring everybody in, and they start playing. The week is structured. They come in, we split them up into bands, and then by the end of the week they have a song. And so we basically force them to collaborate. And a lot of these kids have never played music with other people outside of a band, so we really want to try to expand their horizons and open things up and allow them to be as creative as possible. And none of this would have happened if we didn't have incredible mentors. And there's actually one guy standing right over there, Graham Reynolds. He is an extraordinary individual, and it's one of the reasons that we are who we are. But we've stood on the shoulders of giants, and we want to give these kids a leg up and maybe stand on the shoulders of some average-sized people. So it's so important to patronize the arts and to go out and support it, because if it wasn't for that, then we want the next generation to have the same opportunities, not better opportunities than we did. So thank you very much.
I'm ready to rock and roll. All right, good evening, everybody. Thanks a lot for coming out on this beautiful evening in Austin, Texas. So I'm the ambassador of Austin to the London borough of Hackney. I bet you didn't know that we have an ambassador. And I am semi-self-appointed, sort of hung out with the mayor, and next thing you know, I'm doing this crazy gig. So where is the borough of Hackney is the first question everyone asks, because they've heard of London but never Hackney. It's just north of the financial district, just east of the Soho creative kind of mainstream district in London that most people are familiar with, and then way far away from the Crown and the towers and those kinds of things. It all started on a digital trade mission 2 years ago. I was part of 9 tech execs and a few other people that got asked by the mayor and UK Trade and Investment to come over and kind of figure out this place called Tech City in East London, where I'd never been or had heard of before. And while we were there, we signed a Friendship Cities agreement that kicked off 2 years of completely frenzied activity in building a relationship here. And it's really a love story is what it is. 4 weeks after I was there, I managed to persuade this guy, Duncan Ray on the left, who's here with us this evening, to come to Austin, to South by Southwest, where we blew his mind. Then we sent more people over to London, had more people come over here, and last year at South by Southwest, this was Hackney House, the first time about 8 blocks down the street on West 6th Street, where they brought a delegation of about 15 companies and about 30, 40 people over. It was enough to get noticed during South by Southwest by Bruce Sterling, who's the regular closing keynote speaker, spoke today, of Interactive, and he said, I was walking down the street and I saw this place, Hackney House. He goes, that's an unprecedented quest for world domination by a town within a village like Austin. He said, Hackney is a force to be reckoned with. And that is now the mantra and the motto of the city. I turned around and I went back to a conference there called Digital Shoreditch, where I keynoted a few days after I had the privilege of meeting Barack Obama in one of the roles I currently have, which is as a partner in Capital Factory. And so we spent some time working around Hackney and started to get even more into our relationship. And so as we go into 2014, we've actually moved our relationship from just dating as friends. And 2 weeks ago, we signed, the city councils of both cities signed a formal sister cities relationship. So now we actually have gotten married. And so just this week, just today, where I've been for most of the day, is striking this venue for the last 4 days. This has been at the corner of 8th and Congress, Hackney House, Austin, number 2. This year, it brought 30 different companies over from the creative industries in Hackney, and it was right next to the Paramount and State Theaters. We now are going to turn around and one-up them, and in June, we are bringing Austin Fest Hackney over that way. We expect probably over 100 people, and I'm serious. And I've talked British Airways into being our sponsor because they brought this direct flight in. I says our job is to fill it up. So it's going to start with tech companies because that's sort of our digital trade mission origin. So we're going to bring tech over because there's a lot of tech in both places. Capital Factory here, that's the Google campus in the middle of Shoreditch in East London, and a big, big, big thriving tech scene in both places. But we know tech is boring without some fun. And so in both cities, we have a lot of fun, starting with music. We have the Paramount Theater here. In Hackney, they have the Hackney Empire. Identical. It's identical. Even the same people have performed in both places like Houdini and the Marx Brothers on stage. We're going to be bringing some really major Austin music to there. We're doing a film festival. I've got the Alamo Draft House connected with the Hackney Picture House, and we're going to be bringing a variety of filming over there, Texas flicks, documentaries, and we're going to pepper it also with some Rooster Teeth machinima in between. We've got art. Both cities have a vibrant art scene. The Hope Outdoor Gallery, of course, just around the corner here, a few blocks away in Austin. And in Hackney, it is full of murals and unusual sculptures, if you will. That's the Village Underground, the lower right. And we have also managed to connect our student community. Austin Community College and Hackney Community College have signed a formal memorandum of understanding. We've had student teams collaborating. They both have kind of wild, crazy, nursing and anarchistic pasts, and that gives them the perfect fodder to explore new relationships together. So among the music programming that we're working on right now, I just happen to be talking to a guy who's going to be up here in just a few minutes. You may notice him in the lower right-hand corner, Joe Ely, and I'm doing everything I can to twist his arm to reunite him with the remaining members of The Clash in London, because he is our spiritual predecessor to this whole relationship in the 80s, where he and The Clash recorded, and he's got the stash on that, and we're going to see if we can get that stuff released out of his studio. We're also bringing, as I said, the film scene from Austin over there, and we're going to combine it with filmmakers in both places. We're going to be doing murals in both places that become a lasting statement of what each community is, and so when everybody goes away and goes home, there's a way to still connect with this whole conversation. Each mural will have a QR code on it, so you'll be able to tap in and find out exactly what we're talking about. So with every relationship of seriousness of this kind, you got to have some enforcers. So these are our kind of symbolic of our two enforcers in this whole thing. Any of you who know these guys, I'm just like pulling your leg. On the left is Glenn Max. He's the creative director of the Village Underground, major music programmer. He just flew in today. And on the right was Bijoy Goswami, who runs Bootstrap Austin here in town. But really, the symbol of this relationship, as I first said, we're sister cities, we're friendship cities. It's a love story between people in two communities. And symbolic of that love story is these two Makey dolls. On the left was Paloma Faith, a great artist in Hackney, and the right was Willie Nelson. And I'm actually privileged to have Willie and Paloma here with us this evening. So they're not just dating anymore. Thank you very much.
There you go. Geeks around the globe. Hey, I'm Justin Ishmael. I'm the guy that's going to start this with a kid pick. This is me when I was a little kid. I grew up in Kansas. My parents were very influential in getting me into comic books, movies. I remember every week I would go. My grandpa would have a brown paper bag full of X-Men comics and stuff. So I was really into that. I was really into movies, and this is a Craigslist post I pulled from 9 years ago. I didn't know you could look this stuff up that far ago. I highly recommend doing it because it's really disgusting and hilarious. But I put these ads all over the country looking for 35mm film, like the movies you watch in theaters, because I was obsessed with film, and we found it. That's not me, it's my friend. We finally got a hit in Arkansas. It's got a warehouse full of like 300 films. And so I talked them into giving me $500 a piece to where we could buy these movies and sell them. The first movie we ever sold online on this collector's forum was Bloodsucking Freaks. We made $500. We thought we were rich. So I was like, oh, maybe I could do something like the Alamo Draft House. I was just basically ripping off Lars Nielsen's Weird Wednesday. So I did this in Kansas City on a Wednesday. I called it the Screenland Freak Show. We showed like Lady Terminator and White Line Fever, Savage Streets. I really, really wanted to do something with movies. And I wanted to be like the Alamo Draft House. When I was selling the movies, I met Anthony Timpson from New Zealand, who bought a bunch of movies from me, and he had them shipped to the Alamo Draft House. And through that, I met Tim League, came down to the very last QT Fest, and that kind of sealed the deal for me. I wanted to move down immediately. I came down, I worked a bunch of odd jobs at the Alamo Draft House, got into Mondo, and then this stuff started happening. These are our posters that we do for films, events, TV shows, that type of stuff. We work in conjunction with studios. We have licensing partners. We do promotional materials. We just like to have fun with movies. There's Robert Englund with one of our posters at an event. So we do these posters. Guys like Robert Englund find out about them. We had Steven Spielberg buy a bunch of our Jaws posters that we did. So it's kind of being a movie fan, getting to do this stuff on an official capacity, and then get to meet these guys and work with them. It's very, very exciting. This is an example of the attention that we get. This is a website. But if you look right there, there's a Papa John's ad for a hearty Italian meat pizza on top of a blown-off face for a hobo with a shotgun poster. So this has been on my computer for a very long time. I've always wanted to show it to anyone, so this is the perfect place to pull that out. We work with a ton of artists, but this was probably one of the most exciting. This is Drew Struzan. He did the Star Wars poster. He did Indiana Jones, Back to the Future. He's on all these legendary posters, and we've did a Frankenstein poster with him. It was the very first one we've ever did together. And it was very, very nice to be able to kind of start a legitimate friendship with this guy. Speaking of friends, these are the people I work with, and they are legitimately my best friends. Behind them is our gallery that we opened. This is the 3rd anniversary. South by Southwest is the 3rd anniversary of our gallery opening. It's unbelievable what has happened from basically starting off in the kind of ticket booth of the South Lamar lobby. Yeah, this is from that photo. We had fans draw us like Adventure Time. So we have very, very enthusiastic fans, and it's very weird that they like us so much. I still don't understand why they do that. But it's very flattering nonetheless, and I thank them for that. This is an event we did at a mall here in Austin. We showed Dawn of the Dead, and we had 200 zombies in the parking lot and attacked a bus full of people that came in. We had George Romero come. He shot a zombie in the head, which I think is it might be the next slide. But we started these events where you come. Yeah, he shot a guy in the head. It's crazy. That's a zombie. It's all right. But we have these events where you go to the event, you don't know what's happening, and it's a mystery. It's a mystery movie. There's not enough excitement in the world, I feel, with the internet and spoilers and whatnot, so we try to keep it a secret. We throw misdirections in there. You go to the event, and you get out with a poster. This was December's event we did in LA. We showed Die Hard, and on the left, that's glass. We covered the entire theater with glass and made people take their shoes off and walk through to their seats. And I'm not joking. And then that was Reginald Bell Johnson. He came to the event. I almost got teary-eyed being with him because this is my favorite movie of all time. They even went on eBay and they were selling handfuls of glass. It's like dipping handkerchiefs in Dillinger's blood and trying to sell that. Some people got that. Yeah, it's a lot of our stuff ends up on eBay, and we never thought we'd see glass up there. We did posters. We thought the next logical move was to go into music. And so we're doing soundtracks. This was our very first soundtrack we ever put out. It was for the William Lustig 80s slasher classic Maniac. This was our first vinyl. It's a variant vinyl, and we decided to do a blood splatter, and this is how it came out. And we were kind of freaking out. And it kind of turned into us getting the license for Halloween and then us ending up somehow on the #1 in soundtracks on Amazon when it came out. So we beat Wicked and Teen Beach Movie, two of my favorite things. So it's a huge dream come true. We're hot new releases next to Matilda and Glee sings The Beatles. It's very exciting. We also got into DVD packaging. We did the Tarantino box set, which was super, super, super exciting. We've been lucky enough to work with him on a lot of different events and posters and to kind of cliche immortalize us on this box set that's going to be on shelves is really cool because we were huge fans before. This was, I think, like Thanksgiving a couple years ago. We were at Best Buy in Kansas, and we saw it on the shelf. This is kind of cool. It just makes it kind of real in a way where we can kind of sell these things through our site and do this stuff, but when you actually see it at like Best Buy with a on sale tag, it kind of makes it all worthwhile. And this is the last one. This is a Kevin Smith Instagram. That is Miramax's offices, and they skin the walls with all of our art. So that's pretty crazy. Yeah. Yeah. We've really made it. All right, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
I'm Joe Ely, and I should have my head examined for walking on stage without a guitar in my hand. But something occurred to me a little while ago. I saw a picture of that my daughter had painted using a number 2 pencil floating above the canvas. And I went and found in the bottom of a trunk almost the exact same picture that I did 35 years ago. And that led us to kind of find that genetic memory or whatever it was that made that happen. And I already talked over yours. Okay.
So, I don't want to talk.
But a lot of these pictures were in like I carried a sketchbook in my guitar case and did pictures from the road while I was traveling around playing. Here you go.
This is a picture I took out in California, and I think I'd take pictures mainly just to remember moments and remember, places and beautiful sunsets and beautiful things, and so just kind of, yeah.
This is a drawing I did my first visit to New York City with shark taxi cabs and a bear on a Honda and Bob Dylan in high-heeled shoes playing a saxophone. But this was my first impression of New York City.
This is a picture I took in New York City when I was spending some time there, and it was just this coffee shop that I would always go to, and it was snowy outside and really warm inside, and I just kind of, and that weeping willow tree was, just very beautiful. I'd see it every day when I'd go get coffee.
Here's a picture a self-portrait that I did in a window of a shopping center in Italy. And I found myself drawing pictures. I was always getting lost when I'd go wander around, and I'd draw pictures of buildings, and it would tell me whether to turn left or right.
And this is a self-portrait that I did of myself in Europe. It's actually 2 images. One is of me, and then the other is, I think, of in Paris somewhere. But it's called Lost in Europe. Oh, and that's my photo again. This photo I took in down in Ojinaga, just south of Marfa. I used to live out in Marfa, so we'd go down to Ojinaga to get some, good Mexican food, but I just found it really interesting with the 2 stop signs.
I found this was a photograph I took in New York that had a banner up above made out of just stretched plastic, and I thought it was kind of a picture inside of a picture with these guys drilling a hole to the middle of the earth. And here's this scenic, and there's another picture here that I did of a swimming pool in Arizona that was kind of, I thought these agave cactus kind of looked like weird angels guarding a Motel 6, and
this was there was a point when I was driving to Marfa almost every weekend, and I'd always see this sign, and I just thought it was funny that said truck soup instead of truck stop, and I don't know, I just had to keep that in my memory.
And here's a picture from West Texas right before a big storm, and I just this image kind of stayed with me, and we used it as an album cover for the Flatlanders album.
And in this photo I took my first trip out to Marfa, and just rolled into town, and there's this crazy lightning storm going on, and so I just pulled over and put my film camera on top of my car and did a long exposure, and sure enough, lightning bolt. And
From lightning bolts to Lone Star beer. Lone Star beer once called itself the national beer of Texas, and And then it started being made somewhere else, and its image kind of faded. But now that it's on True Detective, I think it's Lone Star is back.
This photo is from a lost roll of film, or I'd take a lot of pictures out in the desert, but there's no place to develop them, so they would just like end up with all these rolls of film, and I finally got these developed, and that picture was in there. It's the old motel on the edge of town in Marfa.
Yeah, I took a second look at this picture, and the mountain in the background has been there for millions of years. The electric poles have been there for 100 years. The sign, maybe 20 years, and it seems like this car is just kind of driving off the edge of the paper into another time.
This was two images that I joined together. This is like the Twin Peaks out in Alpine, and then the last of the palm trees out on the edge of the California desert when you leave LA and you drive out, and kind of palm trees are dying, and I don't know, just kind of mix those together.
The dirigible, when flying at night, is like a cloud. It's lighter than air, it drifts with the wind, and it blocks light from above. It is said that the wolf devours the sun at dusk in order to let the power of the moon come through. It communicates vocally and is an ancient symbol of how you trust or mistrust your instincts.
I took this photo out in Marfa as well. That's Mr. Barry Tubbs' trailer. And that night, I think the night that I took this picture, we had that dance party in the dirt. And
everybody danced in the headlights of about 6 pickup trucks all facing each other. Thank you all very much.
Greetings and good evening. We are Riders Against the Storm. Many people know us as an award-winning husband-wife hip-hop dance music group. Others know us as hosts of Body Rock ATX, an underground dance party that we co-founded with DJ Chorizo Funk when we arrived in Austin 4 years ago. A smaller group outside of these audiences are aware of us as spiritual practitioners and healers. One of our main missions is to uphold the science and mindset of indigenous people and indigenous technology. We are masters of ceremony. The ceremony portion we take very seriously. Everything we are approaching we consider to be a ceremony, and understand the purpose and power of bringing people together in spaces that allow new channels of thought and energy to open up, even if just for a moment.
Now what is the difference between indigenous technology and corporate technology? Corporate technology is our cell phones, iPads, light fixtures, and so on and so forth. Indigenous technology is aware of the power that we are, allowing us to operate without using more resources than necessary. The indigenous mindset is aware that the natural world should be disturbed as little as possible. There's no need to manipulate life when it will give you whatever you desire just by asking. An African shaman by the name of Malidoma Somé showed his elders a clip of Star Trek. He said they recognized all of what was going on but couldn't understand why they were using so much energy to go out into space. This is a fractalized African village. It's neat and humble and made mostly of earth. But still, it's a fantastic display of sophisticated mathematics. This space is filled with lights and wires, plastics and circuitry, all of which got here by a truck or boat filled with fossil fuels, all that which needed labor to get dug up, refined, processed to get here. Under the indigenous mindset, we are aware that I could fill this space simply by saying, everybody say ho!
Ho!
Say ho! Ho!
Ho! Ho! Hip-hop. The drum. Boom, bap, boom, ba-boom, bap. How far back does that rhythm travel? I imagine all the way. The DJ was the giver of life through sound. He chose the rhythms that brought people together on the dance floor. Despite coming from environments that neglected by mainstream society, these artists produced creative vortexes for disenfranchised youth to celebrate the art of something from nothing. That's magic. There was no blueprint or manual. Ancient awareness, seasoned by an urban landscape, and blended with the remixing of modern tools. The nuclear energy born from this early local experimentation and wizardry propelled the development of an international phenomenon that has influenced all areas of daily modern life. Even yogurt commercials have hip-hop soundtracks today. I heard a country music singer with a DJ and a rapper in his song the other day on the radio. This character sitting in the subway that's about to come up may look out of place to you, but to me, it symbolizes the indigenous and urban always living together. The urban and modern continues to try and bury, deny, and oppress the force, but it cannot. This force is necessary for us to remain human. It is rooted in our connection to forces that we do not create or own. We must always remember the sacred within us.
So, our work is really not about our musicianship. It's more about bringing people together. At one body rock party, I found myself on the dance floor with a young man with Down syndrome, another man possibly with crack addiction, a couple with a 1-month-old, and a panda bear getting down on some Dos Equis. What did they have in common? Life. And the indigenous mindset respects life in all forms. That includes the power to radiating from a pair of jiggling booties.
These are out of order, but we'll continue. When I was a kid, I thought hieroglyphics were amazing. Art became a language with a secret code that I wanted to know about as I daydreamed while eating my corn pops, watching Saturday morning cartoons. I loved the simplicity and yet the complexity and total mystery of what I saw. There was a power there. Egyptian civilization did not separate art from religion or science. Hieroglyphics were a complex code of symbols that contained layers of meaning. As an artist, my work always has some spiritual, social, and/or political coding. One of my latest prints, Jim Crow is Dead, symbolizes my desire for the end of the profit-driven prison industry in America. In order for me to visualize the demise of this deeply entrenched institution that many scholars consider the new Jim Crow, I had to murder the myth. You see a two-dimensional representation of the old crow lying in a pool of blood. Blood is the force and the life force that allows for the creation of our prison industry to be drained or shed. Heavy, but I have to believe that an end is possible.
All right. So, right here at Body Rock ATX, it's real fantastic energy that we really enjoy emanating to the people that are coming to our programs. It's a lot more than just our ability to gather people. It's really about ceremony and how you activate someone, how you bring them forward. You can't deny what is coming off the energy of these two guys here on the screen. You can't do it. I can't. I'm about to lose my whole mind because they're too cute. The reason is because there's power coming from them. There's power in the natural world. There's power in our natural states. That light coming from your eyes is useful. Don't power it down. The confidence you hold about your body turns you into Bruce Lee, Alvin Ailey, and Serena Williams. Don't power your body down. It is charged with a real magic commonly known as technology. We regularly boot up our phones, HD TVs, and high-definition toaster ovens, and neglect to give ourselves power. We neglect ceremony. Why does technology work? It works for the same reason everything works, because we believe in it. Your smile is charged with power. We literally electrify our audiences, and we do so because we believe in them. We believe in you. Everybody say, ho!
Ho!
All right, BS, yeah. So my career in the industry of film began when I was 5 years old, and I was paid $5 cash to be in an educational video, and from there I was hooked. This is actually the set of Piranha, Joe Dante's film, when I was 12, back when men were men and they wore short shorts. And as you can see, this is 10 years later, still wearing short shorts. There's Willie doing a Don't Mess with Texas ad. I had a whole, oh God, I don't even know what I'm gonna say. Okay, every summer I was shooting film because my aunt had been making little movies in Texas, and I kind of got in there and made a short career out of it. This is so hard. Do you know how hard this is? This is really hard. Oh my God. this is an idea of what storytelling is about, and this is my self-therapy. Now, here is actually what I actually did. This is the film that I worked on called Boyhood, and if you haven't seen it, maybe one day you will. It's a film about a kid growing up in Texas and his family and his parents and his sister, and it's all shot in real time. So it took us 12 years to make. And this is an idea. I can't actually show you the film, so this is an idea of what happens when you age. And these are a photo credit to my brother Matt Lankus and my nephew Nicholas. So the whole concept of the film is that you get to see a family grow. He's cute. So we started out with a budget from IFC, and they gave money every year. And on the slim hope that, all of this would finish up in 12 years. And a bunch of people came together, crew from Austin, really great, hard-working people to make this movie, and there are some of them. So over the course of the time, we had 450 crew members, post-production people, and cast work on this project that was kind of skewed because it wasn't your typical film. I mean, you're shooting in real time, and it had a real uniqueness about it because the project itself was, we did I don't know, close to 2 years of production over the time of, a 12-year project, which was 49 shoot days. But you spread those shoot days out in real time, sporadically shooting over 12 years. That's Robert Rendon. He's great. He's awesome. He rocks the camera department. I love that photo of him. And, if it weren't for the crew of Austin, it would be really hard to do something like this. But everybody really pitched in, and we were able to stand around and talk a lot, which would be a lot easier if I didn't have to do this right now. But yeah, so there's Rick. There's one of our DPs, and I'm going to go back to my flashcards. We've gone to lots of Q&As, and everybody gets to ask me questions about the film, which is a lot easier than standing here and trying to do this. But there's our crew on the street. What else? Let's get to the next picture, and that will make me feel better. Yeah, so there was a lot of collaboration on the project. I mean, the talent really got an opportunity to collaborate with Rick, which was really wonderful because you can see we sit around and talk a lot, but that they really got an opportunity to, because it's a story about family, and the amazing thing is that we basically all have family. We basically have all grown up. So when you're telling a story about that, it's really easy to engage in the art and be able to sort of project yourself into it and project your own things into it, and have a lot of fun with your friends while you're doing it. That's our art department. But you're putting yourself into it, and everybody got to bring a little bit to the table in that process. I'm waiting for the next picture. So the other great thing about it and getting to be producer, that was the very best part. The other thing was getting to be a woman in the industry and getting to encourage other women. And this is my almost all female production staff 1 year, except for Garen down there. So, it's great to have a little bit of control over things like that, and eat very large brownies, which when you see the movie will make much more sense to you than it is right now at this moment. So, but I mean, overall, it was a wonderful project to work on. We're just finishing the film up now. It should be coming out this summer, but that's it. That's gone. Oh, wait. Oh, you can't see it. That's not it. That's a picture of Patricia. It's so dark. You can't see it. So this is her reading to her children, which really, part of the film and the process was that it made me sort of reconnect to my own idea of motherhood, watching her play this character and raising my daughter while I was doing this film. So I'm working on this long-term project and raising my own child while I was doing it as a single mom, and it kind of made me really readdress a lot of my own things and also my hairstyles, which changed dramatically over the course of 12 years. All in all, it was, kind of like having a family reunion every year and getting to see your friends again and getting to work with people that you really cared about. And, and everybody was there for a reason and a purpose in the project. So after this, I don't know. I mean, looking at a project like this and the magnitude of it, it's kind of hard to imagine how you top it after, something that was so profound, personally profound and wonderful experience to be a part of. So we'll reflect on that.
I'm real nervous. A friend of mine said that if I'm nervous up here, I just need to imagine that you're all naked. It's not working. You need to get dressed, please. What I'd like to do with this presentation is to describe my body of work over the last 15 or 20 years. The first 10 images you're going to see here are projects that I've done for clients. They include furniture, sculpture, site-specific projects, a lot of commission-based work. The last 10 images I'm going to show you are primarily the work that, it's my personal work. It's the work that gets me real lit up, and I'm real excited to share it with you. So to start with, this is a fireplace screen that we did in 2002. We did it for a client in Austin. We worked with an architect here named Stephen Kubinka and also a designer named David Curio. They asked me to design the fireplace screens for all the different fireplaces throughout the entire house. And there were 7 or 8 different fireplaces, and they wanted them to all be different. These here are a couple of different benches I did in 2008 and then again in 2013. It's called the neutral bench because of its understated use of materials. And it's also inspired by the architecture of Richard Neutra, a modernist architect from California, mid-1900s. These are a couple of different Wingay sliding doors that I did for a client in downtown Austin back in 2006. We did these doors out of Wingay, sandblasted glass, some real tricked out stainless steel hardware, and we did projects throughout this client's home. This is a project that I did in 2008. This was a series of furniture, tables, credenzas called the Big Little series, and it was named that because of its combination of large and small volumes. This particular credenza, that's my daughter. That's also my studio. This is a table that I built, and this was last year, and I did this for a gallery in Dallas. This particular table is called the taper table, and it's built out of spalted pecan and steel. It's got, if you'll notice, the hand-carved texture in the top and also the hand-carved bowl. This is one of my favorite designs. I did a couple different iterations of that design. This here is also a table that I built about 4 years ago for a client here in Austin. I call it the stacked steels table out of glass and steel. And I love the way the volumes stack on top of each other. The remainder of the slides I want to show you are my personal work that I mentioned earlier. And this is the stuff that I kind of felt like over the last 20 years I'd been following the rules, and now I wanted to start breaking the rules. So this particular chair right here is called an Amasi chair, and it's part of a collection I started in 2005, built out of Baltic birch and walnut. And this was photographed by John Langford, one of my favorite images of virtually anything I've done. These here are a couple of benches that I built back in 2006, I believe, out of steel and reclaimed longleaf pine. And you'll notice that the steel on the backrest is from an abandoned trampoline. So a lot of the parts that make up this furniture, this experimental furniture designs, are salvaged, reclaimed, repurposed, reimagined. This is another table that's part of the same series. It's called an Amasi table. And it's built out of stainless steel and reclaimed longleaf pine from a building in Missouri. The stainless steel I begged off of a friend of mine who's a sculptor. And these were leftover parts from his projects. And again, This is another chair from that series. It's a sculpture. Now, a lot of these chairs, tables, benches that are part of the series, they're designed to blur the line between furniture and sculpture. So they're not entirely furniture, they're not entirely sculpture. And this particular chair is a memorial to a woman that died in 2006 while she was talking on her phone and driving her car. She was killed on 22/22. And that particular chair was also, for me, an indictment of irresponsible journalism. I can't tell you the whole story, but feel free to ask me if you'd like to learn more about it. These are a couple of tables that are also part of the collection. They're titled Have Another. And for me, they are designed to tongue-in-cheek commentary about the nature of our consumer society. This is a table, an Amasi table that's subtitled Modern Prometheus. And for me, this table suggests what Frankenstein might have looked like had he been a table. This is another series I've been working on for about 3 years. It's called the Mirror Series. And for me, the Mirror Series is an exploration into our inner psyches. It's a very minimalist series that explores how we view ourselves privately and also how we market ourselves publicly. So, for instance, this set of sculptures right here, it's actually just one sculpture, but that's the opposite view on the interior side of the sculpture. This sculpture here suggests a family portrait. It suggests maybe a darkness in the family, or possibly a black sheep in the family, or maybe somebody that's gone, that's died. This sculpture here is titled Yellow Balloon, and for me, what I wanted to do with this particular sculpture is to suggest a feeling of detachment or disconnection, or feeling abandoned, or feeling adrift. And so that's what this sculpture explores for me. This piece here is called Blue Stripes. And unlike all the other pieces that are part of this series, this sculpture for me suggests perfect mental health because of the detail that occurs inside. Robin Williams said that we're all born with just a touch of madness, and we mustn't lose it. And I think that that sculpture suggests that maybe the art lost its madness. This sculpture here is titled Lavender X, and for me, this sculpture suggests a sense of maybe positivity or negativity. It might suggest a sense of addition or multiplication, which might suggest an exaggerated sense of self. So this piece for me is quite different, and I'm still trying to get my brain around it. This piece here, this sculpture, is a collaboration that I did with a friend of mine named Katie Hirschfeld. She's a collage artist, and I think she might be here tonight. This piece here, it's called Vanity 2. So everything you've seen here is work that I'm very, very excited about. Some of the work that I'm doing right now is part of the same series, but it explores, it's quite different. So maybe in another 10 or 12 years, I'll be up here again and I'll show that to you. Thanks so much. And don't lose your spark of madness.
10 seconds per slide.
Okay, go.
I don't know if you know that.
Go. Okay, ready? Okay. I'm only going to read this because what I want to offer is a brief historical perspective on image making using light-sensitive materials. So I wrote on the cover of my little book, The History of Photography in 6 minutes or less. And so I'm just going to go for it. So this gentleman, Albertus Magnus, he was a German, goddamn, see, it's already screwing me up. Okay, he was a German cleric who first observed the sensitivity of silver nitrate. He noticed that silver darkened when it was exposed to light. This is a Britishman, Thomas Wedgwood. He was working around the late 1700s, early 1800s. He was placing things, objects onto pieces of paper that he had treated with silver nitrate. And he noticed that the silver darkened, but it would continue to darken if he didn't, when he would view it in subdued light, it would darken. So the problem was he couldn't figure out how to keep it from stopping to darken. Nestor Niepce, I have 2 slides of him so I can talk a little slower. So Nestor Niepce was a Frenchman who was working on the same problem. He knew Wedgwood's work, but he had the same problem. He couldn't figure out how to stop the silver from darkening. So what he did is he abandoned silver and he started using asphalt, which is a light-sensitive material that occurs naturally. This is an image that he did. It's called the first photograph, but it's actually probably not the first photograph. It's the only known surviving image that Niepce ever made, and it was a view out of his lab's window at his estate in Le Gras. It's at the Harry Ransom Center. It's very difficult to see unless you look at the right angle, but it's pretty cool. You should check it out. That was in 1826. Daguerre, who everybody's heard of the daguerreotype, or most people probably have heard of the daguerreotype. Another Frenchman started working with Niepce on the problem. They traded notes. They worked on it for several years. Niepce died. Daguerre kept working on it. This is a still life Daguerre shot early on, 1834 probably, 34, 35. The exposure times were painfully long. So still lifes were kind of like a lot of the first subject matter that people were utilizing just for testing. This guy's my favorite, Britishman, Henry Fox Talbot. He was a gentleman scientist, very wealthy, lived in this huge Laycock Abbey outside London, tinkerer, inventor, scientist. Started dabbling in photography, completely but these guys were all working autonomously, which I find fascinating. They didn't know one another's work. They worked very secretively. These are some what Talbot called Talbotypes. So it's a piece of this is a piece of flora that's put on a piece of paper with glass over it, exposed to sunlight, developed. He got a negative image, and then he would contact print his negative image and create a positive image. So really, Talbot's sort of positive negative matrix is kind of like the basis for silver capture up until now. So Talbot's was actually more accurate. This is Hippolyte Bayard. He was another Frenchman working on the problem, also completely autonomously. Daguerre and Talbot both published, one with the Royal Academy of Sciences in London, one with the Royal Society in France, in Paris. And Bayard never published, and therefore he was not recognized really as even a player. So he did that portrait of himself. He called it Portrait of Myself as a Drowned Man, kind of in his frustration. There's Sir John Herschel. He delivered a speech on March 14th, 1839. Can't believe I pulled that out. And he's the person that coined the term photography, positive, negative. He is the person that figured out how to stop the fixing process in the way we work now with sodium hyposulfate. That blueprint that you just saw, now I'm running behind, was a photogram of cyanotype. It's not a silver process. It uses iron salts, ferric ammonium citrate, potassium ferrocyanide. Sunlight exposure gives you that blueprint, really beautiful. So these are early photograms. So the idea of a photogram is you place an object directly on the sheet of paper, expose it to light, develop it, no camera involved, no negative involved. They're all one of a kind. Those are amazing. Those are 20s, Mahalinaj and Rozak. These are chemical paintings called chemograms. The one on the left is mine. This one here is Frederick Summers, Paracelsus, one of my favorite images ever. That was acrylic paint in between two sheets of acetate, and it forms that sort of torso that's sort of vivisected there. This is a image that my mentor and instructor, John Gray, did of himself in 1983. He put Vaseline all over his face, pressed the paper up to his face, put it in the developer. Where the Vaseline was on the print, it resisted the developing process for a little while, so you got this beautiful sort of effigy of himself, which I love those images. He did full body ones that are laid down on mural paper. They're beautiful. This is a Talbot photogram of dandelion seeds, and it's printed in verso as a photogravure. The image on the right is a dead cactus leaf that I made using a Xerox machine. I do a lot of Xerox stuff. Really interested in non-sort of silver work as well as silver work. This gentleman's named Chester Carlson. He invented the Xerox machine, and that's his first Xerox machine. It's very cool. He's straight from Central Casting. He worked for quite a while. He worked in his apartment in New York City, but his wife complained of how the sulfur smelled so badly, and it was a part of his process. So he moved to his mother-in-law's in Queens, which I actually always thought was really funny as well. And this is his first Xerox. It's done on, they were writing with India ink on microscope slides and printing on wax paper, and every test they did, they dated and said where it was. So it was 10/22/38, October 22nd, 38, in Astoria, Queens. That was the first kind of breakthrough. This is Röntgen, one of his first x-rays. It was of his wife. See, I forgot her name, like Beatrice or something. And that's her ringed hand. And once again, you know, if you Googled probably first x-ray, that would come up. But, you know, there was a lot of work that went into it. In fact, the skull one is my self-portrait I did last year. I got my doctor to prescribe me a head series. Seriously, because I wanted an x-ray of my face. Winding down here, this is the first photograph made of Abraham Lincoln. It's a daguerreotype. It was made in 1848. And I kind of sometimes ponder if Wedgwood, and there was another man before Wedgwood named Schultz, a German chemist, had worked together, if they'd all worked together a little bit more and not autonomously, that we could probably have a portrait of Washington maybe. You know, in the 1700s, they were actively trying to solve the problem. And this is my last photograph. Oh, you got to be kidding. Can you not back it up? Did everybody see it? Okay, it was the first digital image ever made, and it was in 1972. And if you look up first digital image, it'll say some guy at Kodak did it, but it was not on a CCD chip. So John Thompson has a beautiful photograph of his wife. In 1972, he developed the CCD chip. The image is a couple of kilobytes. It's very, very small. It's really beautiful. I wanted to read one quick factoid. Is that cool? Yeah. Okay, good. This is, I find very interesting. I don't need to read this, but I'm going to put it in front of my eyes here just in case. Just because there's some... So I'm the guy in history class that like remembered every date. Like I loved it. No one else. I was the only guy. I sat in the front. History was my thing. So what I wanted to talk about really quickly is the idea that we live in the most photographed time in history. I'll give you some facts here really quickly. In 2011, it's estimated that Americans took 80 billion photographs. By 2015, 105 billion. And so we live in this incredibly photographed time, and yet I feel like we're creating one of the most fleeting archives in the whole history of photography because nothing is being printed. It's all living in the ether. It's difficult enough for a photographer to maintain an archive, a digital archive. We're constantly having to update the equipment to stay relevant to the stuff that's being manufactured. So make prints, you know, leave something behind, you know, make prints. Anyway, thanks.
is a beer-loving, whiskey-drinking, guitar-playing classical pianist from upstate New York who can be found playing with his band Genuine Leather in area bars. He's a pasta-loving runner and a vegetarian.
Kathryn is a flexitarian, gluten-free yogi.
Charlie loves dogs and is terrified of heights.
Kathryn has been both repelling and abseiling, but is terrified of dogs. Kathryn is a wine-loving, gin-drinking mezzo-soprano from North Carolina who loves Led Zeppelin.
Charlie prefers the Stones. Charlie is perfectly punctual.
Kathryn's idea of on time is 10 minutes late.
Charlie rolls his own tobacco.
Kathryn won't enter any car that's ever been smoked in and carries custom-designed ear protection that come out in rock concerts and mildly loud bars. Kathryn was a member of the KISS Army and grew up on a steady diet of hard rock.
Charlie's first concert was Blink-182, and he was immersed in the skate punk scene.
We each came to serious study of classical music relatively late. Our avid readers put ourselves through school where we held top-class rankings.
And whether it's those early musical tastes or a mutual genetic history, we can also share hair care products.
We found true common ground in the idea that a complete command of craft is only the first step in being a classical musician, and that it comes with the responsibility to steer our genre with its increasing needs for fresh image, energy, innovative ideas, and vested audiences into 21st society and away from the path of cultural extinction.
While conservatory educations strive to provide proficiency, as we just sampled for you, they neglect the elements of collaboration and business. Finding that perfect, delicate balance of compatible style, personality, ideology, and skill set in an artistic partner after having been trained to pursue anonymous auditions can be terrifying as it is worthwhile.
For our first collaboration, we selected Pulitzer Prize-winning composer George Crumb, whose works have developed a near cult-like following. The composer invited us to come work with him at his home studio in Pennsylvania, where we were given a window into his process, his love of literature, and his lifelong study of the scores of Bach. This photo is by Amy Cooper, who's right over there.
Deciphering Crumb's handwritten puzzle-like scores, the originals of which are at the Library of Congress, Charlie experimented with where strings should be plucked, strummed, or hit, and we learned that each instrument's skeletal structure is unique, creating additional challenges.
I had no idea that this is what I was signing up for. We read works of Crumb's favorite poet, Lorca. Kathryn turned ashen when she was met at the door to Crumb's home by 7 of the largest dogs she had ever seen, including Zeus, who really liked her.
Charlie revealed his fear of heights and water, white-knuckling across the largest bridge span in Philadelphia. Luckily, some of the best beer in the nation can be found at nearby Rittenhouse Square at Monk.
George Crumb's piece Apparition grabbed our attention for its sonorous beauty and the soulful voice of American poet Walt Whitman's extremely personal elegy to Abraham Lincoln, when lilacs first in the dooryard bloomed, appealing to our shared appreciation for history and for literature.
We're now going to perform the first movement of George Crumb's Apparition for you, Night in Silence.
That's it. Thanks for showing up. This is such a great crowd. I appreciate it so much. Like, this is a fantastic crowd. Everybody's sitting on the cold parking lot in the oil. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of South by.